Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Hello Canal podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a very heavy, sensitive topic. If you have listened to our podcast, the previous podcast, you would already be aware of what we're going to be discussing today, and that's going to be depression. And for today's topic, I will be inviting my wife because personally we've been through depression. We both have our own experiences that we want to share, and we want to raise awareness that depression is not something that you take lightly. It's something that you really need to take action as early as possible before it gets worse. Okay, so welcome, wifey, welcome, 老婆, welcome to the podcast.
Hello，又是我又出现啦。
It's a bit hard to find guests to join this podcast. Okay, all right, just kidding. So I understand that because of the pandemic, right, there has been a lot of problems, mental health issues that have been raised recently, and most importantly, it comes from people losing their jobs, people taking pay cuts. They're no longer able to pay for food for the family, and the worst thing that I think is a main contributing factor is that imagine if you're working as a frontliner, every day you're dealing with people and you do not know if they're carrying this coronavirus, right? And if you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you go back home at the end of the day. If you're living alone, that's fine, but if you're living with your parents, your families, your kids, right? You're just going to be so scared that you're going to pass this coronavirus to them and it's going to impact them, right? And worst case scenario, you might just die. So because of this kind of mental blockage, it's going to cause a lot of problems in everyone. It doesn't matter if you're healthy, if you're wealthy, you're still vulnerable to depression. Okay, so to just quickly give a brief definition of what is depression. Depression is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act, right? Depression causes feelings of sadness and or a loss of interest in activities you once enjoyed. It can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems and can decrease your ability to function at work and at home. So that is the definition that I got from Google. Okay, let's start off by talking a bit more about depression. Hope you guys have your drinks ready, and please listen, pay attention because this is a serious topic. Okay, 老婆, maybe you can share a bit of. We start off by how do we identify depression, signs of depression, or what was your personal experience before you notice that okay, something is wrong with me. I need to see someone professionally.
OK，so I think 我可以讲一点我的 background。
好，可以。
OK，所以其实这个 topic 我要做的原因，其实这个 topic 是我initial讲我想要做，因为我想要记录起来当下的心情。大概在应该是1个月前，应该有3-4个礼拜了。3-4个礼拜前，我发现我又好像有一点开始不舒服啊，我的心里很闷，然后我觉得做什么事我都没有兴趣，然后我一直想睡觉，我再开始逃避人群，我也吃不下饭，然后呢，我就觉得他回来了，就是depression 回来了。所以为什么我会想要做？其实呢，我已经从2012年吃药到2021年，所以我吃了9年的药。然后我一直其实后来这几年，我是一个很稳定的 patient， 所以那时候我一直想要做这件事，就是raise 这个 awareness 的时候，我没有办法写那个心情，因为我还是处于很快乐的状态，我对那种很不舒服已经是很久以前的印象了，所以我想做，我一直没有办法真正写起来。所以当1个月前我又开始体验这种种种的忧郁的症状过后，我才觉得我 ready for 这个 episode， 因为这时候我最有东西可以讲了。
OK，
等我一下。
OK， while waiting, right, why don't I share a bit on my depression? Okay, so I first suffered depression when I was at the age of 16, 17. I think how should I say this? 16 was probably a minor depression, and I'm really not sure what caused it, right? Maybe it was me going through the rebellious stage, right? 就是叛逆期, or maybe I was not happy with school, with my friends. I'm not sure. I don't think there was much problems, but when it came to age of 17, that's when I had my first relationship. It didn't end well, and basically, when that's a trigger point, right? So the first trigger point is when the one main thing happens and everything around you just crumbles. So my relationship with my family didn't end well. I was trying to release my anger towards my friends, both at school and also at the basketball court or when I'm playing frisbee, right? So that's a very dangerous behavior. And I just lost motivation to do anything basically during that time. Okay, so that spiraled me down into a very bad place. And yeah, so what happened was when I sunk to the bottom of the barrel, I basically did attempt suicide. Yeah. So unfortunately, I've seen way too many movies and I believed way too much in them. So in a lot of those kind of Hong Kong dramas, right, they use a knife, and they slash their wrists and they just die, just like that, right? And I thought that was a that was a very easy way out, and I used that method. So unfortunately, that is not the case for anyone of you who is wondering, but please do not do this ever. Blood coagulates, right? Which means when you have a cut, your blood dries up because it wants to prevent the blood from continuing to flow out of your body. So one of the ways that you can actually really kill yourself by slashing your wrist is to go into a bathtub, right? Slash your wrist, there is no chance for the blood to harden and you basically bleed out and die. But for my case, I basically slashed my wrist. I laid down on the kitchen floor and there was blood, but basically it dried up. I passed out, and the next thing I knew is I woke up and I had to clean the blood before my parents find out, and from that onwards I went back to life, right? Life goes on. Yeah, that was my major depression and what happened to me. How about you, dear?
可是我觉得，如果你讲是短期的 depression， 可能一两个礼拜人会有心情的嘛，所以一两个礼拜的不开心，我觉得那个不可以 conclude as depression， 应该是有more than 多少个星期以上的很忧郁才可以讲是 depression。 I don't know， 这个东西 maybe 要 consult 专业的医生 to justify 到底是怎么样。
I don't think I agree with you. Depression doesn't just come in like a short while, but things could have been happening on other aspects of my life, right, that was waiting for a trigger point to start, right? And that trigger point was basically my previous relationship. So I think the depression was there. It was just really a matter of time before it kicked in when something big happens.
所以那件事情 last 了多久？就是你觉得你自己有犹豫 last 多久？
I think it was about 2 to 3 months. Yeah, before I took the chance to end my life.
好，我的话，大概18岁的时候，我第一次看精神科医生是18岁。因为我怎么会发现，就是那时候的我已经开始害怕接触人，就是我会觉得，大家都好像在笑我，好像在讲我。然后你知道 Malaysian 18岁就是要考车啦，然后我也跟大家一样，我想去考车。可是在actual day 就是考车的那一天，我发现有点呼吸不来，然后声音离我有一点远。然后我心跳很快，我一直冒冷汗，我觉得很焦虑，我焦虑到我没有办法睡觉，然后我一直都很想哭。当然呢，这样的情况去考车肯定是 fail 嘛 ，OK fail 啦，没有关系。可是这个就是对我来讲是一个很大的 trigger point， 就是我开始就觉得我自己很差，很没有用，然后我觉得我很内疚，就是各种 negative thoughts 无时无刻出现在我脑海里。 然后我都觉得我对不起我的父母，我对不起我身边的人，然后我身边的朋友也在嘲笑我，就是看不起我。其实这些都是我自己觉得的，可能他们没有这样觉得，可是我就自己conclude 了，然后把这些情绪放在我身上，我吃不下，我也睡不着。
So what you're saying is basically there's a lot of parts in your life when we're going through depression is you being oversensitive and you think that this is what people are thinking about yourself and you're just adding on stress, pressure to yourself until you cannot breathe.
Yeah, yeah. 然后如果你讲 physical 有什么感受，我觉得头重或者头很轻，就是觉得飘飘的，然后你的肩膀会觉得很紧，然后你胸口会有东西卡着，然后头脑会发麻，你觉得一阵一阵头脑好像麻痹这样子。这个是我个人在有 anxiety 的 depression 的时候physical 感受到的一些症状。然后过程啊，其实我觉得大部分人，当你跟他讲，当你带他去看医生，然后医生讲你是 depression 或者你是 anxiety 的时候，其实我觉得 patient 第一个都是 deny 的，包括我自己，因为大家都觉得你有这些疾病就是一个 typical 神经病。You know, 神经病and 精神病 is two completely different things.
神经病 is when you're crazy,
Yep.
right? And 精神病 is when you have a
mental
illness, mental disorder.
对，所以呢，那时候我很抗拒吃药，就是我觉得其实就只是我自己差而已，并不是药，所以药只是让我逃避。然后呢，一开始我并没有找到很适合我的医生，其实我换了好多个，然后我就也抗拒吃药，因为吃了药我就是一直睡，然后我心里还是很焦虑啊。然后我真的觉得很不舒服，我也走了，就是各种 religion 的地方，神庙啊，泰国佛啊，然后佛堂啊，各种偏方啊，催眠，你想过的没有想过的我都试过了，可是我还是活在很害怕、很焦虑的心情。可是呢，那时候我的 family 并没有很认识这个疾病，所以呢他们也是觉得可能我在青春期，所以有一点没有办法
hormone imbalance。
对，不是 hormone imbalance， 就是青春期叛逆，不会去 deal with 长大，然后也没有人去 force 我要看医生啊，然后我就这样断断续续的吃药。其实这个12年就是我刚才所说的12年看医生，是看Dr. Vincent。 Before that 应该是2011我已经看医生了，我已经看过了两到3个医生，可是那2个3个医生他们没有耐心的去倾听我的烦恼或者我的不舒服，因为当你心里有很不舒服，可是没有人认同你，那个感觉特别的难受，所以他们不认同我的时候呢，我很抗拒吃药，我完全不接受吃药这件事情，我就觉得你才是神经病，或者你都不了解我就是胆小而已，我没有要求了。对，我不知道在听这个 episode 有没有suffer 这个问题，但是不要觉得自己没有用，因为我当初的自己我真的觉得我没有要求了，我坦白讲上个月嘛，我说3个月复发嘛，所以3个月的时候其实我还是会有想要那种结束生命的想法。当然现在就是好一点，我就觉得但是有点蠢，但是当你在 suffer 的时候，你真的会有这种想法，包括当时的我。
Okay, but maybe let's take a step back, right? Let's talk about depression, right? So depression is it has a very wide range, okay? So you have maybe from minor depression to severe depression.
Yes.
And the behaviors on how you deal with this kind of depression is very different. For some people, minor depression is something that you can probably like barely just escape. You don't need much counseling. You probably don't need medication, right?
可能就是可能那种 depression 是短期的，就是有一件事情让 trigger 到他陷入那个depressed thought， 而不是 biological 或者你生理上的 depressed。
Yep. So I think that would be more of like my case, right? Where multiple events just triggers a very minor depression that causes you to just lose motivation and lose sight of a lot of things. But on the other end, right, when you're looking into the extreme depression or severe depression, that's when you're not only just suffering from not only just suffering from events. From a biological standpoint, your hormone imbalance, your brain is sending the wrong signals at the wrong time that is causing this depression, right? So even it's a long-term thing. If the audiences out there, if you are listening to this, it's not going to go away. You need to actually seek professional help, see a psychologist, and if needed, you should even visit a psychiatrist, right? You may need medication. You need to acknowledge that you need help, you need medication. And knowing my wife, we've been married for 4 years now, right? The medication is important. It really helps to just keep you functioning like a normal human, and that you won't really suffer throughout the day. The only bad thing is it's a medication that you most likely have to take for a very, very long time.
而且其实 mental illness 跟其他疾病一样，就好像有些是遗传性的，有些是家族的。就好像有一个人遗传性糖尿病，你不会问他，你为什么会有糖尿病？你不要吃药啦，你不会做这种事。但是我也希望外面的人可以正视这件事，就是 depression 也是一种病，你接受它，你去吃药，没有什么比开开心心就是活着做事情更重要的。
Agreed.
对
And this is something that I want to also share with everyone who's listening. Depression is not okay. Depression is something new. Psychiatry is even something newer that for the previous generations they're not fully aware of. It's important for us to communicate that we have these problems to our parents. So I know that like my wife, her traditional parents, they initially didn't believe this kind of problems. They would assume that or maybe possession, 鬼上身,
下降头
yeah, and they rather believe anything else that has caused that their kids, right, to have this problem rather than their kids biologically having this problem. So please just sit your parents down, or sit whoever your guardians are, sit them down and tell them that these are the things that you are facing. It's very hard to go live by each day. Make them aware and have them take you to a psychologist or psychiatrist if you need to.
If you need any help, you can email us. We will give you recommend doctor. OK， 有一点我想要讲的就是忧郁症的原因，因为很多人都会觉得很多人觉得忧郁症都是病人本身的性格问题。我这里要强调一件事，不是所有都是性格问题。所以我找了一点 information， 我会念出来，我希望我老公可以帮我翻译一下。第一个就是遗传基因跟家族有历史。
Okay, so basically inheritance from your family, from your parents.
对，然后第二个是你遇过重大的创伤，比如你的亲友离世，你失业，你的另外一半去世。
Okay, and second point is depression can also be caused by a very traumatic incident, right? Like losing your friends, your families.
然后或者你的成长过程呢有一些阴影。
Oh, you mean okay? So point number 3 is basically there is some also traumatic.
Yeah, also traumatic during the
growing phase.
对 growing phase。然后第4个才是你的 personality， 就是可能你本来就是属于一个敏感的人，你本来就是属于一个比较胆小的人。然后第5个是药物的影响。
Okay, so number 4 is personality, and the 5th is chemical reaction.
对，然后第6个呢是脑部相关的疾病，比如你脑里长东西啊，或者你脑里的第6跟第7可以一起，就是包括你脑里的 chemical 分泌 not balance.
Okay, so point number 6 and 7 is basically if there's any weird growth in your brain, or even your brain just triggering the wrong hormones and sending the wrong neural signals.
Yeah, and chemical imbalance
and chemical
in your
imbalance.
brain.
Right.
然后也是有一点其他的event， 就是怀孕啊、流产这些。
Not just 怀孕，你怀孕的过程中，during pregnancy, you will feel depression and you feel like another round of depression after you given birth as well?
OK， 所以我不能确定你本身，如果你在 suffer 着 depression， 我不能确定你的 depression 是属于哪一种，但是我的医生告诉我的 depression 是属于头脑的 chemical imbalance 的情况，所以我现在吃的药呢，不是镇定剂，不是安眠药，不是会让你无法正常反旋的药，而是只是让你头脑 chemical 有一个叫血清素的 chemical 平衡而已。
Okay, now probably this is a better question to ask you, right? Do this medication have any side effects?
OK， 如果讲有没有 side effect， 我觉得我有资格讲了吧，因为8年了，对吗？So far， 健康检查很漂亮，没有什么问题。胖是因为幸福肥，药没有让我起不来，也没有让我睡不着，也没有让我依赖，因为像我之前很正常反旋的情况，就是大概before 这次又复发之前呢，我有没有吃药已经是都 OK 可以睡觉了，就是累就睡觉这样子，而不是靠药物去睡觉。所以对我来说，没有那个 side effect 可能很少，可能口干，对，口干是 one of the side effect， loss of 性欲 ，sorry。
Okay. Okay. Loss of sexual desires.
就是如果你的药很强的话，会有一点 side effect， 但是相信我，只要你好起来，你把药量减到一定的程度，你绝对可以 normal 反旋的。
I think to function normally, you can abandon sexual desires and I mean you want to recover, right? You want to get better. So if there are side effects, of course you need to take it as well, right? You take it in and just know that at the end of this you'll come out better, and then you can talk about stuff like this after you feel better. But before that, just take the medication if you need to.
对，
Yeah.
而且呢，请正视你身边的朋友或者你的家人，如果他们有需要的话，请尽快看医生，因为后期呢，就是在我12年后期，就是我没有认真去正视忧郁症这件事情的时候，其实我已经出现幻觉跟幻听了，就是我会听到耳边有人跟我讲话，其实那个是没有人的，就是我会听到别人讲，你怎么那么差，你怎么不去死啊？然后我就会突然吃饭，然后就不要再吵我了，我就会这样讲。然后我总觉得别人在看我，其实没有人在看我，但是就我自己觉得。然后我会把我自己关在房间里，整天不要出来，因为我害怕有人跟我讲话，我害怕别人看我的眼神。我觉得大家都在可怜我、同情我，可是我不需要这些可怜跟同情。这是我一个人，就是我个人的一点过程，我没有办法完全 share 完，因为如果完全 share 完，我3天3夜我也讲不完。就是从2012年到现在嘛，真的是3天3夜也讲不完。所以我 in summarize， 我就是换了不同的医生，不行 ，OK， maybe 我再换一个，然后我又就是怎么说，跌倒又爬起来，跌倒又爬起来，然后直到遇到了一个很好的心理医生。其实就是当我真正认真去看医生的时候，我是先遇见心理医生的。心理医生跟精神医生差在哪里？就是心理医生是聊天的，可是精神科 psychiatry 是给药的，所以 psychology 是不能给药的。我先遇到我人生中最重要的 psychologist， 他现在去世了，很可惜。可是他是一个非常有耐心，他其实看诊时间是1个小时，就是 consultation 是1个小时，可是我哭了大概40分钟吧，所以我只用10分钟讲话， but 我还是要还那个钱。那个不是这，那个没有关系，但就是他先等我哭完了，他哭完了他才跟我讲，他也很 recognize 我的感受，我的想法，然后过后他才介绍我现在看的精神科给我。然后我去到看这个医生，那时候他还很年轻，对，10年前他还很年轻，然后一样，我哭了半个小时，讲不出话就一直哭，他也是一样，一直听，就是坐着一直给我纸巾，然后一直认真的听我讲，然后听我讲完呢，他才慢慢给药。然后就是因为遇到了这2个很有耐心的医生，所以我愿意配合吃药，然后我慢慢的不断的去尝试。就是那时候我没有读书，因为我躲在家里，我根本不敢读书，所以我是躲在家里。然后呢，我就大概治疗了1年吧，就是在家里完全吃药换药，吃药换药，就是试不同的药。然后1年过后，我 再次回去 college 读书，就是我愿意他去接触人群 and 那一次我成功了。所以到现在已经8年了，我的药已经降到最低量，就是for 正常functioning而已。所以呢，我觉得药真的不可怕，副作用也不可怕，只是上个月他回来的时候，就是我的有点 depressed 回来的时候呢，我有一点怎么说
can't handle it，
对，我就觉得真的那种感觉回来，其实那种感觉我所说的那种感觉，就是我可以知道回想起我那时候 depressed 很严重的心情，所以其实我真的很害怕。我那时候真的觉得完蛋了，我要重新跌倒一次，我真的不能再花1年。我有我员工要养，我有店里要养，还有等等等，所以我觉得这个也有可能加重我当时的情绪吧。
I mean, when you realize that other aspects of your life are starting to fall, actually, no, it's not even starting to fall. It's that you first have a triggering point, right? And say, okay, this is giving me a problem. And then you start worrying that because of your first problem, it's going to cause problems for other parts of your life. You know, part 2, part 3, part 4. And then you're just going to spiral down and say, okay, I'm useless. I cannot do this. I'm not able to handle this anymore, right? And one of the most important thing is, are you able to pull yourself up before you go too deep, or are you just going to sink too deep until that you no longer want to even wake up in the morning?
OK， 这句话我要帮我老公 clarify 一下，因为他这句话对 depression 人太 harsh 了。No， 他老公 no， 你不能这样跟 depression 人，没有人想要多 fall 一次，然后也没有人不想要爬起来，可是他当下的情绪真的是完全不受控，没有办法起来的。所以如果讲真的，如果在我还没有很认真认识我自己的病之前，我听到你这句话，我可能真的就觉得我没有用，我要自杀，我死掉，我不值得活。
No, what I'm saying is there will be people who will be able to say, okay, I need to stop thinking of all these negative things and pull myself up. Maybe like just say cut, stop, okay? I need to stay busy. I need to do something, right? And just to get my mind off these negative thoughts. But there will be people who will continue spiraling down, keep thinking of negative thoughts, right? And when this happens, it's not good, it's not healthy, and they need to seek attention. They need someone, an external factor, like let's say a doctor, a family, or a friend, to come and say, hey, let's go out, let's do something, let's just find a way to take your mind off this topic, right?
可是当下的情绪你没有办法 take 你的 mind off 的，真的没有办法。就是你不管在做什么事情，你都是那么 sink into it， 你都觉得。我跟你讲，那上2个礼拜的我煮饭我放盐，我都觉得完蛋了，我要死了，太多油很容易 cancer。我去洗衣擦了，这 chemical 对我皮肤不好，我以后还只会怎样。他没有办法 get out of that particular 东西。
Okay, so what would you recommend in this case?
我没有办法 recommend， 因为我只会跟你讲我当下的情绪。所以为什么我觉得我现在很适合录这集，是因为我当下的情绪。不管你叫我做什么，你还记得吗？前2个礼拜你问我要去哪里吗？我不要。要吃东西吗？不要。要什么？睡觉。我什么都不想。你知道我最爱做眉毛了。我知道人生就是20岁过后21岁过后的人生大部分献给我的 embroidery eyebrow tattoo， 可是我没有兴趣。我看老师我根本就没有兴趣，然后我做什么我都没有兴趣，我就是躲在房间里面睡觉。不要来吵我，我连我最爱的老公我都不想要理他，我就觉得他很烦，不想要理他，我想要自己。可是当我自己的时候，我又很 anxious， 我自己我好害怕。其实这个心理的挣扎没有办法跟人家讲，我又不可能把我心切开一半拿给你看我在想什么，我没有办法做到嘛，所以就是很辛苦、很挣扎的一个情绪。
所以这样子就以睡觉。So one of the ways to resolve, not to say resolve, but to just put on hold is to sleep.
Sleep, eat medicine.
No, but what happens if you don't have medication, right?
Don't have medication
Like, what if it's your first time?
OK， 我 first time， 我觉得 caretaker 很重要，像一个，其实这个时候呢 ，depression 的 OK caretaker 请注意，如果你的身边的朋友在 fall into 这个情绪的时候，请不要叫他振作，没有事情的，叫他不要哭，不要，你什么都不要，你陪在他身边就好了，你就静静的陪他。其实有很多时候我们不需要任何劝告，其实我们心里比谁都懂这些劝告。 我们都会，书本上都学过，报纸哪里都有。可是其实我们要的真的不是这些，我们都懂，可是我们走不出来，所以真的只是需要你在旁边陪着我。其实最主要就是看着啦，不要给他做傻事。如果到严重的情况下，请注意，真的，因为我真的听过身边认识的人，他的 family 真的是自杀，然后因为他们没有去正视这个问题，当他跟他讲我有 depressed 的情绪的时候，他就讲没有啦，你只是想太多而已，你要振作来，你不要这样子，这种 not encouraging 的话，所以他真的去自杀，然后他死掉。
Okay, I know that sometimes when people give comments and feedback, right, it makes things worse, right? But in that kind of scenario, do you want to hear that, hey, everything's going to be all right, you know, you're going to be just fine? Do you want to hear that, or do you just want me to silently be next to you? Which one would you prefer?
I think everything will be fine 可以接受，但是不要叫他勇敢一点。哇，我超想扒那些叫我勇敢一点的人，我哪里不勇敢了？我从以前活到现在，我那么努力的去对抗这病，我哪里不勇敢了？所以叫勇敢一点不可以，但是 everything will be fine， 我会陪着你，这个可以。
Okay. Because right, as humans, our most important skill is solving problems, right? Which means, hey, if we want to cook food, what do we have? We learn to make fire, right? And when we see our friends, our family members, or people we know that are suffering, we also want to help them from the bottom of our heart, right? These are all very good intentions, okay? But they do not know, and they're trying all of any ways they can think of, right? It's like, okay, let me just sit next to you. Okay, you want to cry? Sure, cry it all out. Oh, maybe that doesn't help. Okay, then everything's going to be fine. And then you're still crying, and then they'll just say, hey, let's have a bit more courage. We can go through this together. The intention is good, but it's not the thing that you want to hear, right? And when you hear that, obviously, I think you're going to get even worse. Okay, so probably this is more of a informative message to people who know people who are suffering from depression. Just be there for them, right? Listen to them. Don't give too much feedback because they're at a very sensitive point of time. Just be there for them, be next to them, right? And they'll appreciate it. Just watch over them.
因为这个时候其实我们心里也不好受，就是我们会很内疚，我又烦到身边的人了，我老公要这样，所以其实这个时候很内疚，尽量我们也不想要制造麻烦啦，其实，但是就是内心的害怕，有时候真的不要多讲话，讲多错多。
Yeah, I agree. I've gone through that.
Gone through that.
No, but okay. So personally, I've never really lived with someone who has this level of depression before, right? So it's something new that I have to also learn to adapt to, right? To know when are the situations when you need me to help you maybe solve a problem, and when are the times where you just need me to just sit next to you and let you cry on my shoulder, right? So it's a learning experience, and everyone or anyone who knows someone who has depression will need to learn on the fly because they've never dealt with it before.
对
Right.
我明白。我只能说你要有很大很大很大的耐心 ，and 我相信你有，因为这个时候其实就是要很有耐心。像 OK 啦，不如我问你，你觉得作为一个 caretaker throughout this year，来这5年，我们在一起多少年？5年
，5 years。
5年你学到最大的 lesson deal with depression patient， 你觉得你学到最大的是什么？
最大的 What's the biggest thing I learned?
我觉得可以讲一点 background， 因为一开始呢，他对 depression 不是这样的了解的时候，我们在一起第2年，我有一次发作，然后他不认可我，他就觉得你要勇敢一点，哇，我真的是直接爆炸了，我隔一天就带他一起去看我的医生，我觉得他不 supportive 那时候。
No, that's not even the second year, that's the first year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so because no one is educated enough to know what is the difference, the range of depression, right? So the most important thing is you're going to quarrel, you're going to definitely have a lot of arguments, but spend the time, right? If go see a psychiatrist together to learn and find out what is the problem, right? From there on, then you understand, okay, this is why my wife, this is why my mother, my parents are acting this way, and these are the things, the points that I need to look out for in the future. So myself, right, when I first got together with my wife, it was also I needed to learn what were the extreme ranges of depression, because within my group of friends, no one, at least no one has ever really told me that they had that level of depression where they needed to eat medication every day, right? It's like you having high cholesterol and you're taking medication every day to that extent, right? So I've never met someone at that level, right? And everyone that I've known with I would say minor case of depression is still able to function relatively normal on a daily basis. 还可以普通操作一点, right? So that's why my perception of depression is something that you need to really take courage to step forward to get out of that experience, right? Because that was my own experience. I attempted suicide, it failed, and then I decided, okay, I just need to give life one more chance, right? But I was able to leave Malaysia during that time to explore and to start anew. So that's why it's different. But I think for your case, it's you're still stuck in the same place, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. Depression depends on the severity, and you need to learn what are the behaviors. It's like getting a new dog, a new puppy. Every puppy has their own different personality and how they react to certain things. And you cannot just say that, okay, because this other person has depression, so I assume that it will be the same experience for this other person. You need to maybe spend some time with them to understand how they react to certain scenarios, how they react to how they want you to react when they're crying. Yeah, so this is very important. The important thing that I learned, right? And like what you mentioned, you know all the nice words to say, you know all the concepts, the 道理, right? But more importantly, you want my silent presence. 你就是要我安静的陪着你。
对 ，for 我的 case 啦 ，for 我的 case，
Yeah, it may not be the same for everyone else, but most importantly is being there. Start by being there, and then you can slowly learn what else to do after that.
对，我也要跟 caretaker 讲，辛苦你了，但是呀，还是辛苦你了，老公。
It's a learning experience, yeah. So depression.
OK， 这样我还有一个问题就是，你觉得跟一个 depression 的生病的人在一起辛苦吗？其实你可以敢讲，因为我觉得这也是很多人好奇的一个问题。
Okay, if you're ever living with someone with depression and you clearly know that they have it, right? How should I say this? When you start, it's going to be a very steep learning experience because you don't even know how to react.
对，因为一开始其实我不知道我有没有跟你讲我有 depression， 我应该没有讲，因为我觉得好像有点难开口。
It's not something that people will say, right?
Yeah.
And for your case, luckily you have visited psychiatrists before, right? So it's easy to say, hey, 老公 hubby, let's go to see the psychiatrist that I've been seeing, and he will explain to you, right? So I was lucky from that point of view, right? But for people that are dealing this for the first time, right, they don't know that this person needs to see a psychiatrist. And they need to quickly take this person to see a psychiatrist, let the psychiatrist explain, then only you know what to do. But also, to find the right psychiatrist is going to take some time.
对，因为有些真的是很没有耐心听你讲，我都已经这样辛苦了，你还没有耐心听，就让我更怀疑我自己啊。
Yeah, correct.
所以，其实忧郁症 anxiety 跟普通人一样，可以正常的生活，可以正常的function，其实真的是不用太 担心是难免的，就是不要太觉得这个是一个 cancer. This is not a cancer, and 除非你suicide，它真的不会让你死掉，不像 cancer 这样，可能你已经没有办法药医了。可是这个不会，你只要听医生的话，你痊愈的机会是很大的。
Yes, this is a problem that we all know now, right? And there are ways to get around it. No, you don't need to go to a temple, don't need to go to a church, to have them exorcise you,
可是如果这些religion 的东西能让你心里平静 then go ahead. 如果它可以让你平静，但是如果他跟你讲你要花10天来治 then let it go.
Yeah, that's usually the case. It comes with money.
No, 就是如果好像你去 church， 如果那个还让你心里平静 ，why not？ 只要他不骗钱。
Like I fully agree. Really, if religion brings you peace, right? It brings you inner peace. Then you can try that, right? But most of the time, if you have biological chemical imbalance, I don't think religion can help you that much.
可是我觉得 religion。对有些人来讲是很重要啦，对我来讲也是蛮重要，但是我觉得更重要的是我的药。
Off topic.
就是要去哪里一定要带，然后in case 有什么事情发生，就是知道I already know what to do when I'm in like anxious again， 所以我知道我自己应该做什么。
Yes, correct. And having the experience it really helps, right? And having the medication by your side is more important than any religion.
唉，这个人又在 anti religion 啊。
Okay, let's not go there.
Okay, 这样你还有什么想问我的吗
？Not really to share, or not really to ask, sorry, but I wanted to share, right? In the past year, because of the pandemic, usually we don't go out, we don't hang out with friends anymore. And what happened was one day I was just visiting Facebook and I realized that one of my high school friends committed suicide.
Oh no.
Right? So because of the pandemic, we're not able to visit, for his funeral. And I never really asked too much to say, what was the cause, right? He did leave a note apparently for his family, and it didn't end well, and it seems like he was already fully committed to kill himself, right? So the pandemic will make things worse.
Definitely.
Yeah, and imagine that this is a friend of mine, elderly, I think 29 years old last year, who is living with his family, his parents and his younger sister. And at that point of time, I'm not sure if they all noticed that he had this problem, but he was suffering inside, to a certain extent where he can no longer take it. So two things here, okay? Number one, if you think you have depression or anxiety or you have any kind of problem, let the people around you know. You cannot expect them to always, look after you, to know that you're suffering. You need to let them know that, hey, I have this problem, I need help. Right, and from a family or caretaker standpoint, from time to time, you may not know what's happening, but there's no harm asking, hey, how have you been? Anything that you would like to share, any problems that you have faced, right? This is more important. Not just silently just looking and watching them, see if they're acting funny or acting differently.
然后还骂他，有些人还会讲，你怎么你这样子？为什么你这样不合作？为什么你这样 anti social？ Oh my god!
Yeah, correct. Don't go too far and start scolding, yelling, Try to sit them down, understand what is their problem first. Then only, if it validates scolding or yelling, then only you do it. If not. Yeah, no point.
我跟你 share 一件事情，我不知道有没有讲过。其实我以前呢，想要各种方法suicide，然后我刚好读到了一本书，它是讲一个在殡仪馆做工的人，他会就是各种死法过后会变成怎么样，然后过后我就觉得不敢死，因为从高楼跳下来你会全身粉碎，然后你的脑浆会出来，我又那么爱美，不可以。然后我想在车上睡冷气，然后死掉。可是我又不会驾车 ，OK， 等又下一个去湖里啊！他们讲湖里死掉了，每一年就是我，因为我相信有我相信有 religion 的东西，所以我觉得等下以后每一年都要 suffer 那么冷啊，又不可以，所以其实我真的想了100种方法去suicide， but luckily 我没有做到，因为我没有去做 and then 我才会有今天。
I think the only difference between me and you is I attempted, but luckily you didn't, right?
对。
Of course, there are 1 million ways to die. We can die from many ways, painful or not painful.
还有一句话，很多人都喜欢讲的，就是你都有勇气自杀，为什么你没有勇气活下去？哇，我听到这句话，我真的好想骂粗话。我就是因为用完我所有勇气去自杀，就是我已经鼓起最大的勇气去 end 我的，应该怎么讲？就是我觉得这句话很不对，不可以叫我有勇气活，为什么没有勇气活下去？因为讲这句话的人不知道我们身边的人到底花了多少勇气去活每一天。你有听过这句话吗？你有勇气死，为什么你没有勇气活下去？这句话真的很，谁讲我要把它。
In the words of Jason Leong's comedy, right? If your mother can give birth to you, you can give birth to the next kid. Right? 就是你都有那个勇气了 right? You can do it. Something like that 啦。
其实这句话真的很hurt，不要讲，千万不要跟你的谁都不要讲，就是啊。讲到这句话就有点生气。然后我觉得差不多就是这里，所以我想要就是跟你们有在不舒服的人讲，就是不要觉得是自己没有用，每个人的起点就是每个人 starting point 的时间都不一样，不着急，你活在你自己的 time zone， 不要觉得啊别人24岁他可以做这样，哎我24岁我才这样，所以我很差，我给自己很大的压力，我一直陷在那个漩涡里面，没有找人帮忙，没有找医生帮忙，千万不要这样子，你不是 you are not alone。
Yeah, I think most important thing is you don't have to be alone.
对，
you don't have to be.
你可以找身边的人谈，你可以找你信得过朋友谈，然后如果你真的觉得没有人了解你，请 drop us a email， 我看到我一定会 reply 你。
Okay, I didn't set up an email yet for this, so you can send to
Instagram DM.
Yeah, you can Instagram DM us on Hello Cannot Podcast, or please do look for us on YouTube as well. Please, if you need someone to talk to, just reach out to us. I think we have a Befriender
What is that?
hotline, right? So there's a national phone line that you can call in case you need an emergency.
Yeah, 防自杀专线。
Yes.
其实有很多 counseling 的 hotline 的，很多。以前我有打过，然后又是花1个小时在哭。谁接我电话谁可怜。
But yeah, please do call. Don't let it get worse. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add?
我觉得收发到这里，因为我要录这集的时候，我又已经比较好了。我应该等我很严重的时候，你们就可以听到我哭了，你们就可以听到当时我的情绪。我觉得我老公应该受不了，因为我每次发作我就会重复，我没有用，我是不是很没有用，对吗
？Depends. Very tricky question. No, okay. It breaks my heart to hear you say that all the time, right? Because you're not useless. You're just feeling that way, right? And I want to help you get rid of that feeling. But it's not easy. It's not something that by just saying I can change it. I need the medication to help you do that, right? So that's why, from my standpoint, sometimes I feel a bit hopeless because no matter what I say, no matter what I do, it's still not as powerful as medication, right? I can be there for you, I can prevent you from doing stupid things, but medication is the only thing that will stop you from thinking this the next day.
它不会 works magically 啦，可能你要2-3天，但是definitely 你吃了你会平静很多，你可以去休息一下，因为我最高纪录是3天3夜没有睡觉。你最高纪录几天几夜没有睡觉
？I think it's 3 days 2 nights.
这样我是3天，差不多，这样我是4天3夜了。然后整个人变中逼了，然后吃一粒要睡觉。
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I just want to share something that I found on Reddit. I've
Okay,
been
yeah.
keeping this for a very long time, and I think this is the best time to do it,
Okay.
to mention it. So I hope you listen to this as well.
Mm.
Okay? So basically, this person is giving some feedback. He's a old person that he recently lost someone, and he's trying to share his experience on how it is like losing someone. So when you're losing someone, sometimes it comes with frustration, it comes with sadness, it comes with depression, and this everything that we've been discussing today, right? There is a potential for it to relapse, for it to happen again.
对，
Okay, so here I'm going to start quoting it. For this kind of negative feelings, right, you feel that you find out that it comes in waves, right? So imagine that you're on a ship. When the ship is wrecked, you're drowning. You know, everything, all the wreckage is just around you. Everything floating around you reminds you of the beauty and the magnificence of the ship that was and is no more. The only thing you can do is float. You find some piece of the wreckage and you hang on for a while. Maybe it's some physical thing, maybe it's a happy memory or a photograph. Maybe it's a person who is also floating. You're hanging on to a person. You know, for a while, all you can do is float. All you can do is stay alive. In the beginning, the waves that are coming will be 100 feet tall and they'll crash over you without mercy. They come 10 seconds apart and they don't even give you any time to catch your breath. All you can do is hang on and float. After a while, maybe weeks, maybe months, you'll find that the waves are still 100 feet tall, but they come further apart. When they come, they still crash all over you and wipe you out, but in between you have more time to breathe, more time to function. You never know what's going to trigger the negative feeling. It might be a song, a picture, a street intersection, a smell of cup of coffee. It can be anything, and that will just trigger and the waves will start come crashing. But in between waves, there is life. Okay? Somewhere down the line is different for everybody. You find the waves are only 80 feet tall or even 50 feet tall. And while they still come, they come further apart. You can see them coming, right? Maybe an anniversary, a birthday, Christmas, you know, you can see it coming from a mile away. And for the most part, you're able to prepare yourself. And when it washes over you, you know that somehow you will again come out on the other side. You might be soaking wet, you might be still hanging on to the same tiny piece of wreckage, but you will come out. Okay? So take it from this old guy, the waves never stop coming, and somehow, maybe you just don't really want them to, but you learn that you will survive them, and other waves will come, and you will also survive them too. You know, if you're lucky, you have a lot of scars from a lot of love, and lots of shipwrecks.
Oh my god，这个讲得很对耶。
浪潮还是一样来的。
对，
可是
可是你刚才这样讲，我会 anxious 啊，我也要经历多一次嘛。Oh my god。
No, but imagine between now until the next wave, you have so much time to breathe, so much time to learn back how to live.
好吧，加油。
Okay, I hope this is a good podcast, enlightening for everyone. Of course, please do get help if you need it, and if you do need someone to contact, please reach out to us on Hello Cannot Podcast Instagram or on YouTube, or just look for any Befrienders hotline available.
对，
Okay,
对，
all right. Any last words, 老婆？
没有，我又开始焦虑了。Okay, so here end.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.